how German U-boats were used in World War I and perfected in World War II. German submarines, the most powerful naval weaponry in both world wars, destroyed 8,000 warships and merchant vessels, killing tens of thousands of people, and severely disrupted transatlantic trade. With their deck guns and torpedoes, these U-boats could strike ships 20 times their size from above and below the ocean surface as they prowled the waters in search of food. During often 2-month-long sea patrols, sailors were unable to shower or even change their clothes inside the cramped, poorly lighted submarines. According to Douglas Boddings, the U-boats, 50 men shared 2 restrooms, one of which served as a food locker before patrols began. However, the outside water pressure prevented the toilets from working while the crew were 80 feet or further below the surface. A putrid concoction of sweat, motor fumes, and bilge water was breathed by the U-boat personnel. Their shoes developed mildew, and the intense heat and moisture even caused charts to decay. While on patrol in 1941, German war correspondent Lothar Günther Buchheim observed, "I feel like Jonah inside some huge shellfish, whose vulnerable parts are sheathed in armor." Germany was the last major naval force to create a submarine in 1906, and even then, they were still rather basic weapons of war. But Germany had caught up by 1914, when the First World War broke out. Its 20 combat-ready U-boats could travel 5,000 miles without refueling, making them more advanced than submarines from other nations, and enabling them to operate all the way around the British coast. U-boats come of age in World War I. On September 5, 1914, the U-boat fleet launched its first attack, killing almost 250 sailors against a British light cruiser off the coast of Scotland. After 17 days, U-9 killed around 2,500 people as it quickly sunk 3 British battleships. In the first month of the war, the Germans lost more U-boats than they sank in spite of these strikes. Germany declared the commencement of unrestricted submarine warfare in February 1915, threatening to sink any vessel in a war zone surrounding Great Britain without prior notice, including trade ships from neutral nations. Many Britons, including First Lord of the Admiralty Winston Churchill, had said, "I do not believe this would ever be done by a civilized power," dismissing the notion that submarines would target merchant ships. U-boats attacked passenger ships, as well as supplies of food and fuel headed toward the British Isles. The ship Lusitania was torpedoed by U-20 on May 7, 1915, off the coast of Ireland, killing around 200 people, including 128 Americans. Fearing that the United States would join the conflict, Germany finally promised to ensure passenger safety before destroying defenseless ships. The U-boat danger proved difficult for the Allies to resist. The Royal Navy covered its weapons with haystacks to conceal them and painted their warships to look like merchant ships. U-boat periscope lenses may be covered and shattered by using canvas bags and hammers, which were carried by some British patrols. On January 31, 1917, U-boats declared that they would resume unrestricted submarine warfare against Allied and neutral ships. By the end of April, U-boats had sunk over 500 ships. Although the U-boats came dangerously close to conquering Great Britain, the U.S. entering the war was largely due to attacks on U.S. merchant ships. U-boat arrives in American waters. Germany was able to attack its new enemy's Atlantic coast thanks to the development of the U-cruiser submarine. In May 1918, the first German U-boat entered American seas. During its 12,000-mile cruise, it sank 13 ships, 6 of them in a single day, laid mines in American ports, and severed 2 telegraph wires on the seabed. Allied countermeasures, such as convoying commercial ships and guarding them with warships, started to blunt the U-boats. However, by the end of World War I, German submarines had managed to destroy over 10 million tons of cargo. Submarine building restarted after Nazi leader Adolf Hitler rejected the peace treaty in 1935, despite the fact that the subsequent Treaty of Versailles mandated the surrender of all U-boats and forbade Germany from possessing them in the future. Long-range submarines proved to be effective weapons during World War I, and when hostilities resumed in 1939, the U-boats followed.